Welcome to today's episode of Critical Mass Radio Show. I'm your host, Azia Celestino, filling in for the fantastic and irreplaceable Rick Franzi. This business talk show airs live on Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 4 p.m. and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Heard live exclusively on Orange County's only community radio station, octalkradio.net. If you are listening to this show as a podcast, we encourage you to listen live during our broadcast times. This show is brought to you by our sponsors, Brandman University, Commercial Bank of California, Decision Toolbox, Smart Business Magazine, Succession Strategies, and our newest sponsor, Center Club. The goal for this show is to help you, our listening audience of CEOs running middle market firms, to improve your decision-making skills. And now I'm very excited to welcome our first guest, Dana Borowka of Lighthouse Consulting, to our show. Hi, Dana.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for coming into
Appreciate
the studio. So tell us a little bit more about your path and how you got to Lighthouse Consulting.
I've always had my own business since a kid. And when I was doing my undergraduate work, I had this interesting idea of starting a business consulting practice using the professors, using the computers back in those days, which were very expensive, and using student labor. So I went out, got some business, took the professors with me, because I didn't know what I was talking about. I was just a kid. And we started closing activity. And I was doing very, very well through college. It paid for all my schooling.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It was a nice ride. So came out of school, actually, with a pretty successful consulting practice and built that and got married and was working very, very hard. But I had a problem. I was getting very, very stressed out at the time. So I was breaking down physically, not feeling well all the time. So I told my wife, I said, I think even though I'm a type AAA business person, I need to stop doing what I'm doing or I'm not going to be around very long. So with her permission, I stopped working, believe it or not. And then went into psychotherapy a couple times a week and mountain hiking and journaling, all the things that people do more midlife. I did it early on, late 20s or so. And my wife decided, she was working at Loyola Marymount University in career placement. She wanted to go back and get a master's in psychology. So I thought, hey, this is kind of fun. So I was a year and a half into my thing. We had cut back our expenses, kind of eating beans in a sense. And when she said she wanted to go back to school, I thought, okay, we'll cut back even more. But I liked what she was doing so much, I decided to go back and get a master's in clinical psychology. So we're both doing our thing. And I was getting approached by clients all this time by, hey, we have projects, want you to do it. And I'm saying, no, taking a little hiatus here. So when we ended our master's program, it was during a recession of the early 80s or so. And we were starting a counseling service. And because counselors were headed south for the winter, I was kind of thinking, what a nice opportunity, because of my marketing and business background, to start a practice. So always take advantage of opportunities, right? So I got us a radio show on a very hip rock station at the time, and we had listenership grew, and then all of a sudden got invited to Star Radio, K-Rock, KLOSS. You name the stations, we were on it, and built a very successful practice really quickly. A longtime client and friend said, hey, I want you to start doing personality assessments for candidates that are coming to my company. I said, no. I like doing one-to-one stuff. We're doing couple counseling. It's a lot of fun. I'm not doing business things anymore. But he said, look, you have access to the best personality assessments in the entire world. Research and just start doing it, and I will pay you. Well, that was the beginning of Lighthouse Consulting Services. And quickly it turned into, our practice turned into going from individual practice to working with companies. Today, we have hundreds of companies we work with, not only domestically, but globally. We have a nice-sized staff. Half of our business is focused on in-depth personality assessments for new hires coming into companies at all different levels. And the rest of the other half is we have a full-service consulting practice. So it was kind of interesting how I was able to take my business experience, psych training, combine it together, and take the passion of what I really love to do, which is really both, and express it in a business forum.
It's really interesting that you were able to go from business and then you felt this kind of breakdown, kind of take a hiatus and then come back to business. Was there any sort of I guess, resistance or hesitancy that you felt before going back to business?
Yes, I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to repeat what I was doing because I'm prone to being a workaholic. So I talked to my wife quite a bit about this, and we worked it through. And I have to say, today, I have a pretty balanced life. It's worked, and it's really a lot of fun, having more fun than ever, actually, and have a very successful business, which is cool.
What do you think is the thing that changed this time around that you were doing in a more healthy way?
Introspection of why I was doing what I was doing in the past, what caused it, trigger points. So I'm cautious of those things today, so I don't get caught up in it. But I think I'm much more centered. About a month or so ago, I went to the Milken Institute. They have wonderful programs, by the way, for anybody who wants to go in Southern California. No charge. They have them quarterly. And they had about 150, 200 people in a room with the 14th Sherpa. Do you know what a Sherpa is? I didn't know either. It's one step away from the Dalai Lama.
Okay.
Now think of this. A room of business people listening to a gentleman that's one step away from the Dalai Lama. He's the 14th. So this is a religion or organization, a Buddhist organization that's many years old. And it was fascinating in that he said, if you learn to breathe, you'll be centered. You'll be able to do business and think clearer on what you're doing, deal with your clients, and approach your market share in a much more focused way. So he said, you got to be like a horse, very consistent in your breathing and whatever you're doing.
Like a horse. I've never heard that one. That's a good one.
Yeah. But he also made an interesting comment. He said, when you breathe in and you're centered, then when you exhale, you take your centeredness and you share it with others because you're sharing the love and the light that you filtered through. And what a nice idea. So I shared that with another number of business people because it's an unusual topic. Remember, think of that. A couple hundred people listening to a Buddhist speaker on the topic of breathing and centeredness. What a wonderful thing versus just being all bottom line oriented.
Well, I think it's a great topic, and it goes hand in hand with our show today. We have another guest who's talking about having a 5-day weekend. So I think, business and leisure and being able to find moderation is definitely on the rise as far as discussions. But I kind of want to bring it back to the Lighthouse Consulting Group. So what sets your firm apart from other companies? Because it's such a competitive industry.
We actually have a specific niche. Because of my business background, I wanted to focus in. I heard many years ago, I'm a member of a CEO roundtable group, and they have these great economists. And they said before the last recession, you got to be niche-oriented, or you're going to be competing with everybody. So if kind of like a plumber or a electrician, if you're niched in your neighborhood, you do a great job. So I decided we're going to niche ourselves in doing something that most companies aren't able to do. So on the in-depth personality assessments, we're not just processing data. We actually ask for the resume, for the job description, and we have a discussion with the hiring manager as to, assuming there's no red flags, it's more of a discussion of how do you best manage the person to onboard them. Well, that gets people to really think versus hire or not hire, which is much more appropriate because there's humans involved. And then it gets the manager to start to think, where are they coming from versus, they should think like I do. Now it becomes a collaborative discussion. We have a price point that is very tough to compete with. And that differentiates ourselves from the insight, the experience, the depth of data that we're sharing, and taking the time to really have the discussion.
Well, I guess that's where all the personality research and knowledge, all the testing for the things that are more abstract comes in, right? With the psychology masters?
Exactly, and the business background.
What do you think is the most surprising thing that business owners and these company leaders find out when you come into their company?
It's having the discussion about how to work with people versus just some autocratic dictatorship. But really, because if someone is not asking questions of people that work for them, whether they're receptionists or warehouse workers or whatever it is, they're missing out on some amazing opportunities. Want a quick story about that?
Yep.
Manufacturing company had grown. They had a gentleman that had worked there for 30 years or so. He started off as a truck driver, then he's in charge of the warehouse and distribution. Over the years, they were hiring people with degrees. He's sitting at the table with degreed people, doesn't think he has anything to share because they're degreed. They're smarter than he is, right? So I was asked, can you start to work with him to get him to speak up a little bit? So I asked him, so what do you see as a problem? What are you identifying? Well, we're getting a lot of returns on certain things from damage to corrugate. I said, okay, great. Why don't you start doing some research? And he goes, what do you mean? So I want to get the corrugated people to come in, ask them some questions, tell them the problem, and they'll come up with a solution. So he did this. Through his research and putting a beautiful PowerPoint together, the guy with no degree presents to all the people that have degrees an idea that ended up saving the company $250,000 annually. Now, if we take that over a 10-year period, he saved the company $2.5 million. Nobody in that room with a degree saved their company that kind of money.
That is a lot of money. And on that note, we're going to take a really short break, and we'll continue talking about this right after these words from our sponsors.
Commercial Bank of California, or CBC, is a well-funded, full-service bank located in the heart of Orange County. When it comes to safety and stability, CBC has one of the highest levels of capital of any commercial bank, ranked in the top 6% in the nation. Commercial Bank of California was founded in 2003 by a group of Orange County's finest entrepreneurs. To this day, our bank is governed by our founders, including General William Lyon of William Lyon Homes, Alex Morello of the Morello Group, and Frank Willey of Fidelity National Financial, to name a few. In short, we're a bank founded, built, and run by entrepreneurs, for entrepreneurs. Not every business in Orange County should be our customer. However, if your business is looking for a bank that can assist in finance, production, analytics, and risk management, there's no better bank to choose. To understand the true power of how Commercial Bank of California can help you achieve your goals, give us a call at 714-431-7000 or visit us on the web at www.combancal.com. Member FDIC.
Can we talk about your family business? You know, that thing you put your whole life's blood, sweat, and tears into? Well, what happens when you retire or try and pass that business on to your children? At Succession Strategies, we can help you find the answers. We'll guide you through the unsettling process of protecting your family legacy and successfully passing your business on to the next generation, safely and securely, ensuring that it'll both survive and thrive for generations to come. So ask yourself just one question. Can I really afford to wait? Take the first step. Take our complimentary self-assessment at successionstrategies.com. Or call us at 714-560-9022 to set up a free consultation at your convenience. That's succession-strategies.com.
Richard Franzi is a highly sought-after keynote speaker on topics of interest to CEOs of middle firms across North America. Richard's talks include Killing Cats Leads to Rats, a fascinating look at how unintended consequences of CEOs' decisions impact their firm's performance. Your Gray Matter Matters, which explores how a CEO's mindset can differentiate a middle market firm and define its culture. Richard delivers talks to a variety of audiences, ranging from executive team retreats to keynotes in front of hundreds of CEOs. To learn more about his talks, visit criticalmassforbusiness.com and select the contact page or call 949-887-4104.
Welcome back to Critical Mass Radio Show. Our listeners downloaded over 136 shows since this month started in our podcast, and we here at Critical Mass Radio appreciate your continued and growing support. All shows can be heard live on octalkradio.net or rebroadcast anytime from iTunes, Stitcher.com, and other business-oriented podcasting services. So let's get back to Dana and our interview. You were just telling this fascinating story about an employee who had no degree, no formal education, but they were able to make this outstanding change within the company. I wanted to ask you, Lighthouse Consulting recently published this article that went viral from Bloomberg, CBS, ABC, all these great publications, and it was about inboarding. Can you explain what that is for our audience?
Yeah, a lot of companies are very familiar with onboarding. Inboarding is taking the talent that you have and paying attention to them and asking them questions. One of the biggest issues I've noticed is organizations start to assume that everybody just does their job and they're satisfied. But the market is so hot right now that the A and B players are tough to come by, so people are poaching at this point. So to keep your people engaged so they don't go running off, inboarding is asking questions, finding out where they want to go, gaining ideas of where they want to grow, and then creating a career path for them. So it makes it fun, and you learn things you'd never know about by asking questions. But you got to ask the questions, regardless what level of the position is. Again, a receptionist or warehouse person or a senior person or mid-level, everybody has to be part of the inboarding process to continue, keep the train going in a sense.
Definitely. And are there any other trends as far as management perspective that you're seeing on the rise in the industry?
I think that collaboration, even though it's an old topic, people forget about it and they get focused in their world and they forget to ask somebody a thought. They just assume, and assumption is a problem. So team meetings, whether they're remote or through Skype or phonies, there has to be regular meetings to ask questions as to, hey, what are your thoughts? What are you seeing? Customer feedback, internal feedback, how's process going, how it's not working? Because it's kind of like a website. If a website isn't constantly being updated and changed, the company's dead. And if we don't constantly refine our communication style with our customers, which includes internal people, we're missing out on some wonderful opportunities. There was another client, they had about 200 people in their customer service area, and they put out a request for feedback, anything we could improve, and very little feedback came back. But one person said, we're putting our customers on hold for 10 seconds while we're refreshing our screen. Why can't we reduce that a period of time? So they got IT together, they got the supervisors, some other people, they started brainstorming. Now think of it, 200 people keeping customers on hold for 10 seconds. They were able to reduce that amount of time to 3 seconds. Think of it, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, all the way to 10 is a long period of time. This is what they did for that person to show them a reward. They had a wonderful lunch. They sent the person on a 3-day cruise as a celebration and gave them a nice big check to say thank you. Because you multiply out
what company is this?
Yeah.
I need to do some business with this company.
They encourage the contribution of ideas, and that's what all companies need to do, is to tap into the power of the talent they already have, and that's where most companies fall short. They're not listening.
But I would argue that companies are also starting to realize that both for customers and for their own employees, it's important that even though there's an exchange of money, it's still an experience, whether they're working for them or they're purchasing something or buying into a service. It still needs to be enjoyable all the way around. That's
right. Everybody should have a good time on it. When you're talking to a customer service person somewhere, anywhere in the world, if they have a smile and they're talking to you that way versus just rote, what a difference. You want to, how can they help? How can they assist? And if they're going to transfer, say, hold the line, let me get so-and-so on the phone. They debrief. So when they come on, hey, thank you so much. I want to introduce you to Azia. Azia's going to help you and work this thing through all the way. I've had most people have had a terrible experience with the healthcare issue. And I have to say, I'm not going to mention the name, but a very large provider, for all the years I was with them, had a worse customer service, on hold for around 2 hours plus. We switched to a new carrier. They are absolutely incredible. Their hold time is 2 minutes and a transfer is 2 minutes and 10 seconds. When they transfer, the customer service person is fully informed through their internal email system as to what the issue is and how to address the person. That's the difference. So I'm spreading the word of mouth, of course, and people are leaving the old carrier and going to the new one. All over customer service. It's seamless. Customer service and experience. That's right.
I wanted to ask, switching gears a little bit, something that we always want to hear from our guests is, what is your guiding principle at Lighthouse Consulting?
It goes back to constant insight and going from the heart and soul. not rote. It has to come from what we truly see and believe, and we believe in empathy and sharing. And if it goes back to empathy, that's usually a win-win for everybody, because you're seeing the other person's point of view, which goes back to listening and appreciation for everybody that touches anything that you're in contact with. And those are our guiding principles, to bring effective insight to organizations from your heart and your soul.
We mentioned that the consulting industry is a competitive one. Do you think that's one of the things that kind of gives you an advantage and allows your company to grow?
I actually don't believe in competition, believe it or not. I think everybody has their specific niche and talent, and everyone inherits or attracts what they need to. And that takes away the competitive edge of, oh, I got to have this, I got to have that, I'm hungry. Oh, they can't have that. If you get into that, then all of a sudden it's more of a starvation mode, and versus expectation. Of if you have a message to share, you'll be led to the right people to share it with, and it's very congruent at that point. Versus fear. Fear is not a good thing. Fear is good so you don't cross the street and get hit by a car. But when fear is a driving factor for survival, then all of a sudden there's a shift. And it takes away, I think it usurps one's talent and skill. See, you're not focusing, you're not breathing, you're versus being calm. And so one's driven by stress and one's driven by expression. Two different ways. One's artistic, one's fear-based or animal-based, let's say, or angry animal. Let's say animals are bad.
So can you, I guess, assume that a lot of your marketing and a lot of the income of your new clients comes from past clients and their experience, because you take each case so personally?
We've been told by our clients that when we're talking with them, they feel like they are our only client. We give a tremendous amount of focus and time and rapid turnaround time. We have an unusual turnaround time. We guarantee our clients maximum 4-hour turnaround time for either a phone call or email or some communication. We generally do that within an hour or less. And most of our clients say, how do you do that? And it's part of our commitment to our customers for high-level customer service, for caring enough to be able to respond quickly to a specific need.
And can you talk to our audience about any current opportunities or events that are unfolding for your company as far as growth and moving forward?
Oh my gosh. We go by what we feel and what we see. So this year we have revamped our entire website. We're redoing our entire workflow system. We've gone completely to the cloud. Opportunities have opened with our new book called Cracking the Business Code, which is expanding our full service consulting practice, and Cracking the Personality Code. Our first book is just thriving.
And I'm sorry to cut you short. We have so much to talk about in such a short time, but how can people find out more about your company and get in touch with you?
You can go to lighthouseconsulting.com or give us a call at 310-453-6556, extension 403, which is my number. That's area code 310-453-6556, extension 403, or once again at lighthouseconsulting.com.
We'll put it on the website if you missed it and you're listening and you're worrying that you're not going to get a hold of them. But Dana, thank you again so much for joining us.
Thanks,
and becoming a friend of Critical Mass Radio. We have to take a really short commercial break, but stay tuned because we're talking to Andy LaPointe, author of The 5-Day Weekend on Critical Mass Radio.